the Indiana Fever are starting to realize what they have. You know, when people were talking about the Phoenix Mercury perhaps recruiting Caitlyn Clark during the WNBA All-Star Weekend, I mean, to me, it all seemed rather silly. And one of the reasons was because the Fever have a very, very strong foundation. Something that was recognized by the team's GM, Lin Dunn. Lin was on with Howard Medgal of the Locked On Women's Basketball podcast. I'll put the full-length interview in the description below, a link, as well as the link to Women's Fastbreak on SI, the article on this below. But here is what Lin Dunn had to say, in part, in a fairly significant clip.
Well, I think that's the bottom line. Players want to win. Players want to play for a championship. Players want to be in the playoffs. And so when you're going out in free agency, you have to sell these players on, if you come here, here's what's going to happen. We're not only going to get better, we're not only going to compete, we're going to be in the playoffs. We're going to be 6, 7, 8. Next year, we're going to be 4, 5, and 6. And then the next thing we're doing is we're challenging for championships. And so you have to sell these players on this plan. And you have to have the resources. You have to have the facilities. You have to have the support. Your ownership has to be all in. And I think we're right in line with all the teams that are winning championships with what we can do for our players. We just have to have the opportunity to show them this is what we're doing and this is how we're doing it. And so it's an exciting time. Do you want to play with Aliyah Boston? Do you want to play with Caitlyn Clark? And let's be honest, Howard, the performance that she put on at the All-Star game versus our Olympic team, didn't that send a message how skilled and how talented and how tough she is? My goodness gracious. Not only is she out there on the court as a rookie, but she's playing against our Olympic team, the best in the world. And what does she have? 10 assists? And trust me, they're not allowing those assists if they can.
So that was what she had to say. And that's effusive praise of Caitlyn Clark, by the way. Like, that ain't like she's pretty good. Like, my goodness gracious. Look what she did in the All-Star game against the Olympians. And I think some Clark fans will probably like hearing that from the team, from a voice of the team, because not only did they get a number 1 pick in the draft, but they got this transcendent talent who's bringing more eyes to the sport. And of course, in tandem with Aliyah Boston, that is one of the best pairings that the league will probably ever see, right? For a number of reasons. Their games are compatible. They fit together on the court. They seem to mesh personality-wise. Obviously, both seem like really upstanding individuals, both highly intelligent out on the basketball court as well. And that's not even counting Kelsey Mitchell, who is another all-star, who can really score, can really get buckets. So between those 3 players, that is a hell of a foundation to build on. We talked about the Fever at length, obviously, this season. I think, they're really missing a swing player, that position that is rotated. It was Christy Wallace at the beginning of the year. We've seen Katie Lou Samuelson in that spot. We've seen Lexi Hull in that spot. Really, if they could combine Katie Lou and Lexi into one player, they'd be in good shape with Katie Lou's spot of shooting and Lexi's energy and hustle. But I think they need that swing defensive player. I don't think Melissa Smith has played hard enough or smart enough at times, though she has been a consistent producer for the squad. But that's the rest of the roster, which you can continue to build. And free agency is going to be a place to do that. But the base of it is really, really strong, obviously, clearly. And the Fever, seem to have good camaraderie as well, right? Like they seem to get along well. I just talked about Aliyah Boston and Caitlyn Clark. Here was Caitlyn talking about golf. I'm not much of a golfer myself, but apparently Grace Berger was a state champion in high school, and Caitlyn was unaware.
I believe Grace was a state champion in high school for golf. Have you played with
Grace
her?
was?
Yeah.
What?
Have you played with anyone? Yeah. I think
Grace, you're a state champion golfer? Why did you hide that from me? She was on the team. They didn't play her, apparently.
Have you played with anyone on this team?
Honestly, I have not. I need to go. I know Lexi plays a little bit. Christy actually plays a little bit. Me and Christy probably go out there at some point and see if she can swing a golf club. I don't know. But I think a decent amount of people probably play. We can get them into it. We probably need to get some people out there. I want to see like AB swing a golf club. I feel like that might be funny. Yeah. She probably won't like it.
So when she says Christy there, I don't know if she's referring to Wallace or Sides. It would be very interesting if she is talking about the Indiana Fever coach, obviously, considering the way some Fever fans have reacted to Coach Sides in the past. The Fever already back at practice. I feel like they're there earlier than the other teams, right? Like we saw Caitlyn reveal her Kobe shoes. We saw them return and share the footage. They shared some more footage from the most recent practice. You got some still photos there. Some video here from the practice. It just seems like a team that is in good shape as far as where they're headed, where they're going, what they plan to do, the camaraderie and all those things. I understand the questions are related to probably the coach and GM, right? Like that's where I think most people are going to direct their scrutiny. You just heard Lin Dunn speak there. Obviously, she's been around the block. We'll see if she is still up to the task. That remains to be seen, but they're in good shape. They're in playoff position. As far as the head coach, as I've said before, I'm not quite as harsh on Christy Sides as some fans because the team has improved greatly, and I don't think you can blame the coach for only the bad things and never for any of the progress that the squad has made. With that said, she has done some questionable things over the course of the season, and ultimately the coach is the easiest thing to replace. So as I've said before, if Caitlyn Clark does not get along with Coach Sides will be shown the door. Like it's as simple as that, folks. It really is. It's as simple as that. And we'll see by the end of the season where they are there. But in the meantime, I'm not so sure they shouldn't be rallying around each other right now and going for it as much as they can. They have questions when it comes to defense and rebounding. And, maybe they'll get help with Dantas. Maybe Fag Benley will come back and will help with some of that, of course. And Lexi Hull plays hard on the defensive side of the ball. But when it comes to just offense, when those three all-stars are producing and Smith is scoring as well, they can keep up with anybody. And if they avoid the wrong matchup in the first round of the playoffs, they're going to be a tough out. Because I don't think anybody wants to see Caitlyn Clark, Aliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and the Indiana Fever come playoff time.